Public transit. Year after year, it is at the top of the priority list for people in the city of Winnipeg in every budget consultation recently. And it's no mystery why. We are facing an ongoing climate change crisis. Cost of living is going up every year. We have to start making sustainable choices, and cities have to start building things to allow people to make those choices. My name is Josh, and I'm an independent transit advocate and an independent writer and producer. I love transit, and I believe that it is one of the best city building tools that a city can utilize. Winnipeg is at a crossroads. The way we develop ourselves in the next 10 years is going to be one of the biggest factors in what keeps people here and what attracts new people here. I believe that how we build public transit is going to be one of the biggest factors into that transformation the city of Winnipeg is about to embark on. The 2022 municipal election is here, and I've set out on a mission to talk with candidates for mayor and city council about their views on public transit, to share them with you. I'm really excited about all the conversations I'm about to have, and I can't wait to share them with you, the voter. And I hope you're able to find some information and maybe choose a candidate or two that speaks to you. I am joined right now by Rana Bokhari, who is a former politician and current lawyer, and we are here to talk about Winnipeg Transit.
Yes, sir.
So congratulations on running
Thank you.
in this mayoral election. So public transit
Yes,
is
sir.
a big issue in Winnipeg. It's something that we definitely need to improve on. From what you've heard from people in the community and from your own experiences, what are things that we can really do better with public transit in Winnipeg?
Yeah, and I think, I always view whether it's transit or whether it's anything else, I think we have to kind of take a broader look at what we are actually talking about, right? So when we're talking about transit, for me, I'm talking about creating a design, a culture in the city that is more accessible, that is, we want a walkable city. We want a city where people are encouraged to maybe not use their vehicles as much, not be so car oriented, especially those single vehicle issues. Like maybe, there's shifts that we need to make to encourage that. So transit is a bigger part in my world, in my view, a bigger part of a mobility conversation. It's about diversifying our ways of moving around this city. So whether it's transit, whether it's LRT, whether it's utilizing assets that we have in the city for transit, such as our waterways, like the Red River, those are really important things. But I feel like when we get kind of pigeonholed into only one piece, then we kind of lose sight of all the pieces that can work together to ensure that we are moving everything at the same time. Right. I would love to be able to park my car, jump on a bike, to Saint Vital, jump on a bus to downtown, jump on an LRT to go further, come back, explore the city, move around as I choose, and have every single option available to me.
Yeah.
Because what that does is it brings people together. That's how you build community.
Yeah, no, it's very true. I mean, I lived in Vancouver for a little while, and I didn't drive a car for the entire time I lived in Vancouver. I lived next to the SkyTrain line,
right
and
on.
I found it was liberating to
Absolutely.
not own a vehicle and to not have to drive everywhere.
Absolutely, and you just said it. It's liberating. What's also liberating is feeling comfortable in spaces with your community, right? So I can stop downtown with ease. I can do a quick shop. I can get back on whatever mode I choose at the time. Maybe I feel like, bus, maybe I feel like LRT, maybe I feel like a scooter, maybe I feel like picking up a bike on the street and riding the bike. Like, we need those options because, that's how community comes together. When you have people on the street, it makes our city vibrant. It makes people coming into our city see our streets filled with all sorts of modes of transportation. But the other part of that is also about accessibility. Not everyone is going to feel comfortable on a bike. Not everyone has access to a bike. Why can't we rent bikes? Right? If I'm going 3 blocks and I'm tired, why can't I be, oh, there's a bike, pop in a quarter, take it, drop it at the next center. Great. Why are we making this so difficult for ourselves?
Yeah.
I guess that's the question.
Yeah.
Why are we making this so difficult themselves? And the people will come back and they'll say, well, it's about funding. Okay, so it's about funding. Then you have a master plan. Okay, I agree with the master plan.
Okay.
I don't have an issue, and you're going to ask me, so let me just tell you. So I don't have any disagreement with the master plan at all. But if someone's going to sit here today in 2022 and somehow tell me that a master plan for transit, which should be, a leading mode, a leading form of transportation, if we want to meet our 2045 sustainability targets, how 25 years, I'll be 62. I mean, I don't, this is about now.
Yeah.
So yes, okay, 10 to 15 years, yes, okay, fair enough. But is it a 25-year plan? No.
Right.
It is not a 25-year plan. And also, when you have a government at a federal level who is actively engaging in transit, this is the time to do that. You don't want to wait for another government change to come in,
right,
who's not as encouraging about transit, and then be stuck for another 8 years until they disappear. When the iron's hot, you got to strike when the iron's hot.
Yeah.
And right now is that time.
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, one of the big parts of the Winnipeg Transit Master Plan is the rapid transit infrastructure, and that's something that there's a lot of debate on still, whether or not rapid transit is something that we should be pursuing in Winnipeg. In your opinion, what should we do with rapid transit?
Yeah, I don't think we should not be pursuing, and I know this is a loaded answer, but I'll come back to diversifying systems. Mm-hmm. So whether it's BRT, whether it's rapid transit, whether it's LRT, whatever it is, I'm just confused why we can only do one thing.
Yeah.
That's my confusion. That's where I don't agree. I don't agree that you can't have one part of the city working with one mode simply because of the nature and the design that we didn't create that design. That design is what we're working with, right? So I think we have to be more mindful, and we have to be much more willing to be more comprehensive in our ways. Can we use one form in one area? And can we use something else in a different area?
Right.
And can they all have a network that join together?
Yeah.
And can you have the same bus pass that will get you to all those networks?
Yeah.
That's really what the key is, right? The key is let's be more open to using all forms. But I think, I get the, is it a rapid transit? Is it LRT? What do you want to do? Is there infrastructure issues? I'm not minimizing that discussion. I'm not minimizing the fact that it is costly. I'm not minimizing the fact that there is funding required for that infrastructure. I'm not even minimizing the fact that electric buses require a certain amount of infrastructure as well. So on the one hand, you want to talk about electric buses, but on the other hand, we have to invest in that infrastructure, which is very costly.
Well, it's not as easy as just putting electric buses on the road.
Thank you. So that's kind of what I'm saying, is that we have to be more diverse. I think because one of the challenges for Winnipeg is, and I love us, I love who we are. We're amazing people, we're giving people, but somehow we always want to follow other people.
Yeah.
And there are times in the city of Winnipeg where we have to follow our own design, how we were created. We are not Hamilton, we're not Vancouver, we're not Toronto. We are Winnipeg. We are designed in a certain way. That means we have to be fulfilling these desires that we have. Do we want active transport? Do we want frequent transport? Do we want accessible transport? Absolutely. Do we want transportation that perhaps is affordable for the people who are literally struggling? You have a wind pass that's out there that's costing $100 a month, but when you're talking about poverty, view that through the lens of poverty.
Yeah. No, exactly. There's been a lot of conversations about free transit too, and there have been some studies that have been attempted at City Hall but have been voted against to look into the cost of $1 transit or free transit. is, I mean, the thing is you have to find ways to replace that revenue
Yes.
through city funding, right? So it's something worth exploring.
Absolutely, and there's ways. So if I may.
Yes, go for it.
So, you know, and I get this is a touchy subject, so I'm just going to try to be a little bit mindful of how I speak these words. You know, Winnipeg is not responsible for supporting our surrounding communities. We are not. And every surrounding community in the capital area, you know what, all around us, they have their own mayors and councils to advocate for themselves. But as mayor, my job is to advocate for us. Do I value economic development partnerships with surrounding areas in the capital kind of region, the regions that surround us directly, kind of those small communities? Yeah, absolutely, 100% I do. But do I believe that Winnipeg is sustainable? Is it possible for Winnipeg to be sustainable and continue how it's going with having hundreds of people coming in to our city, which we love, we welcome you, to use our infrastructure, to use our services? Great, we want you to buy from our businesses. But roads, infrastructure, sidewalks, these things don't pay for themselves.
Yeah.
And they are deteriorated by use. Okay, so it's weather and it's use. So Winnipeg as a community, as people, we don't actually have capacity at this point to continue to, you know, burden or be burdened to shoulder and to continue to shoulder everyone else's kind of infrastructure piece. So what they have used, I don't want to be paying for.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a conversation that we're going to have as a community and as surrounding communities.
Yeah.
And really, you know, I don't really know if it's a commuter kind of fee or whatever it is, but whether it's in 2022 or whether it's in 2025, something's going to have to happen.
Yeah.
So what I would propose, you know, and this is not an official policy, I'm just talking if I was, if I was mayor and I had $1 billion to do whatever I wanted to do, hopefully it's coming soon. But yeah, like, you know, park and rides. Mm-hmm. Park and rides outside the city, which other communities pay for. People are getting onto buses now, or we're encouraging transit use from those individuals coming into the city. That dollar amount, whatever they're, like, we can offset and start taking care of people in Winnipeg who are struggling with that kind of poverty and they can't pay for it. So I'm actually not opposed to free or very, very low cost transit. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I think that we have to balance things out. I think that there needs to be measurable goals when we do that. I believe that we have to be sure that it's not something that's really being taken advantage of. But we need to start looking towards that, because I'll tell you something, when people who are in poverty and they have the ability to move around with ease in an accessible way, they're going to continue to contribute to the city in more ways than any dollar amount could ever cost, that we could ever put a dollar amount on. And I think that's a really important piece.
Interesting that you're talking about park and rides around the city. Sir. I don't think that's something that's been discussed yet, and that's definitely a conversation worth having in the next council. One of the big things that I like to talk about, that I love talking about, is the debate of LRT, light rail transit, versus BRT, bus rapid transit. Winnipeg has pursued bus rapid transit for years.
Yes, sir.
And now there's a conversation happening, maybe we should be pursuing a higher capacity light rail network, but more expensive light rail network instead. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the LRT versus BRT
I 100%. Debate. I mean, I would, if I could go back 5 years, I mean, look, when I envision this city, I do not see a city without LRT. I just don't see it. You know, does it mean that it's LRT across the board? No, no, but I'm saying the same thing as I was saying before. Why can it not just be from one place to, I don't even know, I can't even think of it off the top of my head, but, you know, from, you know, all the way down Portage.
Yeah.
like for example, you know, and I'm not committing to that, I'm just saying as an idea, why can't it just be from one point of Portage all the way down to another point of Portage?
Yeah.
You know what it does is, again, it shows Winnipeg as a city to be in. It shows Winnipeg as a city that people want to come to. It boosts tourism. It makes people want to talk about how amazing and how you know in the 21st century the city is. So I 100% support LRT, and I have for years. That's never been something that I've been shy about. But you know, and even BRT. But I think I'll come back to my same point, is that, you know, it's not just one way to do this. I think that we have to be pursuing as many ways of transport at all. I do want, you know, the BRT system as well, you know, but at the same time, I really want, I mean, if it was up to me right off the bat, I would say, if we could find like 4 or 5 really important routes to have LRT, that would be a really important starting point.
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't have to be all or nothing, but we can try. We can at least tell people that we have it.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of people, you know, who are concerned about LRT interfering with the new frequent service plan. Do you see it being an interference or a complement?
No, complement. 100% complement. And going back to my original statement that the more and I you know, the more we diversify, the more that we have complementary systems working together, the more we're going to have people moving around this city in efficient ways, in accessible ways, in ways that are reducing our, you know, our carbon emissions, with ways that we don't have to depend on cars. The system can work, but we always get stuck in it's either this or that. And what I'm suggesting is perhaps it's not a this or that conversation. Perhaps it's a conversation about which area can benefit from what.
Right.
You know, and let's go slow and steady, not a 45-year plan. That's absurd, but let's get the master plan in place. Let's work on the LRT. Let's find one area that LRT can work. I would again propose down Portage.
Yeah.
You know, and when that's, you know, booming and bustling, and we have ridership increasing, and there's more money coming into the system, we can always continue to, you know, invest back. But I say this truthfully. We have a government that's at the federal level that is willing to cooperate. They have shown that they are willing to cooperate. They have shown that they believe in active transit. They themselves are trying to ensure that we are making our, you know, our sustainability targets for 45. They have their own target. They have their own global sustainability targets.
Right.
That's why they're so moving towards this. It's not out of the goodness of their heart. Like, they also have targets that we have to meet. So let's know what we are negotiating when we're walking into these deals.
Yeah.
Let's know what we are talking about when we are walking into these types of communication. People keep talking about collaboration. Yeah, it's collaboration, but it's also negotiation. And when you go into a negotiation, sorry, I'm putting my lawyer hat on, you need to know what the other people are, what their topics are, what they're, you know, what are they holding in their pocket? What are they trying to accomplish? Because they're not going to show you that.
Yeah.
We have to have the foresight to know, right?
Yeah.
That this isn't about transit always. This is about people meeting their own targets.
Yeah.
We're just a part of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Right? So let's give them a plan that we can work with. And I don't believe this is kind of some unattainable goal. I think we need political will. I think we need youth, you know, and I say youth loosely, young adults. I think anyone under the age of 45 to 18, we need you guys to stand up. What do you want your city to look like?
Yeah.
Because it's about you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 45. Like, you know, I'm probably, you know, this is kind of the time for us, right? But you guys got to stand up. You have to be vocal about what you want.
Yeah.
What do you want your city to look like? Because if you don't be vocal right now, the time is going to pass, and you're going to look back and you're going to say, well, we should have, and the time will be gone. So it's now.
So last thing I want to talk about,
Please.
I'm very grateful for your time.
Oh, no, please. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Accessibility,
Yes.
a huge part of your campaign.
Yes.
It's probably where you've talked most about transit before now, because
Yes.
we've talked a lot about transit now.
Yes.
Accessibility with public transit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have you know, it's not only, it's accessibility across the board. So number one, I did present an age-friendly city, and I did that for many reasons. Number one, because I'm part of a sandwich generation where we are the ones who are taking care of our parents, but we're also taking care of our young kids, the kids in our family, nieces, nephews, kids. So we are just one of those unique generations that are being burdened by both, and I say burden in a respectful way. I don't mean my children are a burden or my parents are a burden, but I just mean, but there's a financial burden and there's all these just issues that we have to worry about. And one of the great concerns for all of us is accessibility, is the fact that, can I tell my mom to take a bus when I know that she has trouble walking to a bus? She needs a cane, she needs a walker, and all I see is a slab of concrete with no way to get to that slab of concrete. How is that accessible?
Yeah.
How does that make it accessible? That's not accessible. How is it accessible if you can't even walk down a sidewalk, or I can't confidently, as a child of an older parent, say, Mom, go walk to this sidewalk because you need to get your steps in. It's good for your heart. I need you to get your steps in. I can't do that because half the sidewalks are unclear. The other half are completely dangerous just in terms of how they're structured. I think if we were to give ourselves an accessibility test, or a measure, I think we would fail. Winnipeg Transit Plus is a service that will require funding, and it will require us to pay attention to it, because it's not just people 65 plus who are using Winnipeg Transit Plus. It is people with all accessibility issues. We have certain medical issues in this city that require safe and accessible transit. We are not able to provide that right now. So we also need to, while we're having these conversations about us as able-bodied people who can go and go anywhere and do anything for the most part, we also need to include that accessibility piece in all transit, not just Winnipeg Plus. It means any buses, whether there's an electric bus, our current fleet, whether it's it just doesn't matter. And that includes infrastructure, that includes the way that we're working. Another issue I have with accessibility is the fact that we have an aging demographic. We never include, when we're talking about bike lanes and sidewalks and all of these things, we never talk about wheelchairs. We never talk about walkers. We never talk about scooters. We have a demographic shift happening. In 10 to 15 years, we're going to be slapped in the face with this whole concept of people in wheelchairs, in scooters, in different forms of mobility who are now aging. We want to give them their independence, and we're not going to have an infrastructure in place. So why can't we think ahead and include that in the conversations?
Yeah, well, I think what you said is very important. I think something that people overlook a lot of the time is sidewalks are transit infrastructure.
Yes, hear, hear.
I think not enough people recognize that.
Absolutely.
There's a bus stop near my place. There's no sidewalk to get to it. And you have to walk on the road, and it's 70 kilometers an hour on that road. And
so
in
dangerous.
winter, when it's like 6 feet of snow on the ground,
you can't do it.
You can't get to it, right?
No.
So how are people supposed to use a transit system when you can't even get to it?
Yeah, and again, if you were somebody who required some kind of device, like a walker or a cane, or anything like that, you've just made that stop. Well, it's already inaccessible, but you've made it completely inaccessible. Yeah. And just the way that the systems work right now, just with the fact that healthcare is kind of just in crisis. People are waiting 6 to 8 months for a medical appointment. You have elders or people, that older population on the phone for 45 minutes trying to get a Winnipeg Plus. They can't get that. They got to take the bus. There's no child to take them. I mean, let's get back down to basics. Okay, let's get down to basics. How do we take care of people? Yeah. That's the root. So when Winnipeggers are hearing me say, I will pick people over politics every single time, that's exactly what I'm talking about. We need to be able to understand what people are going through. Yeah. And not just, in our offices make decisions as if we know everything. We don't. Yeah. We need to hear people. Yeah.
A lot of really good conversation about transit. LRT, rapid transit, park and rides, accessibility, everything under the sun discussed today.
Yeah, no, it's really great. And that's how you make an accessible city.
Yeah.
That's how you make a city that's vibrant. That's how we open our doors to tourism. That's how we get downtown bustling. That's how we support small businesses. That's how we support newcomers. That's how we actually build a community. That is the root of how we build our community. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Rana, for taking the time chatting with me.
Absolutely.
And if you want more information about Rana Bokhari, where can they go?
RanaForWinnipeg.ca. You can follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Facebook, you can follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on TikTok. Do whatever you gotta do, but follow me to hear me, please. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rana.
Absolutely, thanks.